Today, I'm going to give you a quick projects update and then talk a little bit about some upcoming dates. Michael Tucker is going to present an ASPO board update as well as start seeking candidates for the ASPO board. Kerry Corbett will talk about the ocean course renovation. Toby will be here to give you an update on the Tower Beach holiday schedule as well as all the July 4th activities that are going on. And then Jennifer has some July events as well as an update on the Sea Pines Legacy Oaks walking and biking tour. So a lot of information today. First of all, the road's completed. We've completed Willow Oak Road now. Sand Fiddler, actually yesterday. There is a little cleanup still going on over there, but the paving is by and large done. Wood Duck and Road as well as Wood Duck Court. We do have striping that is yet to be done on a couple of those roads as well and some marking. So those will be completed here shortly. We need to wait 30 days, I think, for the asphalt to set before we can go out and stripe anything. Additional roads start by September 8th is Fraser Circle. We've actually got our engineering plans back. We're going to make a couple of minor changes to them just aesthetically to try to make it look a little bit better, maybe operate a little bit better. We've had discussions with traffic engineering and talked about how that can be a little bit improved. So we're going to be meeting with our engineer shortly and get that revised and then again schedule the start by September 8th. We also have the Beach Lagoon paving that is probably going to get pushed back a little bit. We've had additional discussions on our dredge application, and that is going to be longer than the second time we got a estimation of the time. So it's probably going to be into next year. We are looking at some plans that we could complete that road paving, possibly at least a majority of that before we get the dredge done. So we're looking at that alternative. We would prefer to wait till after that, but understanding schedules and times and trying to get these things done may be a little bit of a challenge for us. Bike path repairs for the spring are completed. We'll have additional ones in the fall. Most of the repairs were along Plantation Drive and Heritage Woods. The fall repairs will start in September. We have an approval from the board to do a survey for Greenwood Drive from the gate up to Plantation Road, and as you all know, those are where our parking areas are, as well as where we have access for drainage off that road surface. We've got some concerns with the roadway itself and the strength of that roadway. So we're going to be doing an engineering survey and a project on that will be coming. The engineering portion and landscape plan will be coming up in the fall. And really want to look at this older infrastructure that we have, including some of the landscape plans that we have out there, and see what we might be able to do to improve that aesthetically, as well as make sure that we've done all of the infrastructure work to support the heavy traffic that we're seeing on Greenwood, as well as the parking infrastructure that we have out there. Beach walk repairs are scheduled for September and October on boardwalks 11, 39, and 46. And for everybody's information, 11 is along Black Duck, 39 is along Whistling Swan, and 46 is Sand Hill Crane and Ready Turnstone. So those will be done in the fall. Fence repair at the Ocean Gate is also going to start in September, and then permitting process for dredging a portion of the Beach Lagoon, as I mentioned earlier, is underway, and we anticipate now the permit to be issued in early 2016. So we've got to coordinate our projects around that and try to figure out how we're going to get it all done. Additionally, we are working with the town on a lot of stormwater projects, and we have not seen their approved list. I'll be meeting with Tom Lennox next week and talking about what he's got on the list or what was approved by town council in the fiscal year 2016 budget. There were a lot of clear outs of culverts, as well as some assistance on the Beach Lagoon dredge that we requested for 2016. So that should be upcoming, and I hope to have an update for everybody at our August meeting. And with that, I think, let's see, what do we have here? I've got a, yep, it's Kerry Corbett's turn. He's going to talk a little bit about the ocean course and the plans on that and where we're going. I think we've got a fairly abbreviated session, and then we'll talk about dates for upcoming events.
Morning. I did a presentation a couple of weeks ago, about a week ago, and it was a little bit longer than I will do today. Just to let you know that at the conclusion of today, I will stay around. If you want to kind of walk over and look at the plans directly, I'll stay and answer whatever questions you may have. Also, July the 8th from 11, we're going to do another presentation at 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. So if you got further questions, you want to come back for one of those as well, you're welcome. Do want, before I get started, to let you know that on July the 4th, the 18th fairway is going to be able to receive spectators to view the fireworks. That's the reason why we sodded the entire 18th fairway. The fairways leading up to 18, however, have been sprigged. We ask that spectators and folks who come in to see the fireworks do not walk on those fairways. You can access the golf course by the cart paths and so forth, but it's extremely wet out there because we're trying to grow a golf course in, but the 18th fairway will be ready for viewing the fireworks. Our ocean course, as I think some of you are aware, we will be closing October the 5th through the end of September 2016, and this will be a total course reconstruction, total makeover. The Davis Love Design Golf Course architectural firm, founded by Davis Love III and his brother Mark, will be preparing the drawings for the total reconstruction of the course. Scott Sherman is the architect of record with the Love Golf Design. And as we kind of look at the layout of the golf course, and I'm not going to go hole by hole, but I can do that at the conclusion, we're about 90 to 95% finished with the layout of each hole. And so there'll still be a few tweaks, as there may be once we get into the construction project. So we'll touch on all of that. The goal of the project is to create a golf course that will be a fair test for all players of all abilities and handicaps. We're saying player friendly. In contrast to what we did at Heron Point when we opened that, we made that a bit too difficult for the majority of the players. That's why in 2007, when we opened the golf course, then we tweaked it again in 08 and 09, and finally in 2014, we closed it for the summer, totally reconstructed all the greens complexes, and made it, I think, to what we all enjoy today, and which is a very playable and nice golf course. We will be doing that with the Ocean Golf Course, and our greens at Ocean Golf Course, in comparison to Heron Point, that are about 38 to 4,500 square feet, they'll be more like 6,500 square feet. So they'll be very receptive, but there'll be some movement, not a lot of movement to make them too difficult, but there will be some movement in the greens. The look of the golf course will be more low country, kind of coastal look, using sand shells and coquina. And some of the areas that I'll pinpoint, these are kind of the sand shell areas that we will use, and they're just kind of framing tees and doing directions. There are bunkers on the golf. That's a bunker, and that's a bunker there. But around tee complexes, and as you lead down, there will be a different color contrast with the cord grasses, the coquina shell, and so forth, and what we're calling the transition areas around the golf course. There's a sandbar, or an old sandbar, that kind of runs from 16 through 15 and then through Atlantic Point and all. We're going to try to accent that, really make the 15th hole, as it is the signature hole of the golf course. We're just going to make it much more of a statement out there, kind of move the 16th tees up a little bit, but 15 will still be the signature hole of the golf course. We plan to use the same grasses we used on Heron Point and what we're currently putting on Harbortown Golf Links, which is Celebration Bermuda grass on the tees, the fairways, and the roughs, and then Tiff Eagle Bermuda grass on the greens. Everything about the golf course will change. The new irrigation system, a complete new cart path, all new drainage. Drainage is a critical thing that the golf course certainly needs. All bulkheads, bridges, everything. It'll have a total reconstruction. The fairways are going to be recontoured to keep the ball in play. Right now they're kind of mounded. The fairways are somewhat more convex now. We're going to make them more concave so the ball kind of is held on the golf course. Not that we're going to make it we're just going to belly out the golf course, but we're going to make it a lot more receptive to where if you hit something slightly off the center of the fairway, it's not going to bound into a lagoon. So that is a key part of what we're trying to achieve on the golf course. And in the olden days, when you build golf courses, you kind of drained them by doing mounding on the sides and just let the water run off into the lagoon edge, and you put drainage on 100-foot spacings. Now we're putting drainage sometimes at 25-foot spacings or 50-foot spacings. So it's a much more concentrated effort on really achieving drainage. And we did that on Harbor Town, and we have done that on Heron Point, and we will do that on Ocean. There's going to be trees removed. There have been trees removed. You've seen some markings out there on trees. Some of them are with some white paint, some of them with some red paint. The color difference means nothing. I just ran out of white when I was out there, and I used red. So it's not every one of those trees will be removed, but we are removing a lot of trees. The majority of all the trees are the bordering the golf course that are on open space. Many of these trees, I'd probably say 70% are sweet gums, that the town is supportive, as is the CSA and ARB, of the removal, because they're very soft trees, and their limbs do break quite frequently. And so we're just kind of opening up the golf course more as a parkland effect. But the magnificent oak trees that are surrounding the golf courses, we are not touching them. We're not touching specimen trees. And there will be some mitigation in this, so we'll work through all of that. I do want to let you know that some of this tree removal will be on private property. We will not touch anybody's private tree or tree that's on their property without first talking to the property owner, getting their approval, working through the process. And so right now, any trees that are being removed are on more of the bordering the golf course on open space. There's not a lot of trees on private property, about 45 that we'd like to identify and discuss. So that'll be ongoing as we move forward with this project. But we are not going to touch anybody's tree that's on their property without first getting their approval. Also want to let you know that if you have a water view, you will continue to have a water view. We're not taking water views away. If you live on a cart path, you will continue to live on a cart path. We're not moving cart paths from one side of the fairways. Our plans do call for, let's go to, Jeannie, let's go back one, please. That is, that's back now. Okay, let's find number 10. Right here, oh, that's not 10. Right, there's 10. 10 is going to be a little par 3, where today it's a par 4 dogleg right. And the putting green that's out there, this will be the putting green. It'll kind of directly tie into the tee. And it'll play anywhere between 240 yards to probably 140 yards. So there's going to be 6 sets of tees out on the golf course. Number 11 is going to be a short par 4. And that's some of the tree removal that we did out there as in preparation of that. Still a little bit more work to be done out there with removal and so forth. The 17th hole, that is a very difficult par 4, probably unplayable to the majority of the players. We are making that a par 5. We are making number 18 a par 4. And for some of you that have been around a long time, back in 1995, that was a par 5, and that was a par 4 on 17 and 18. So we're kind of going to go back to the way it was, and primarily because we don't want to have 2 finishing holes, 9 and 18, as par 5s. It's just in the sequence of golf course layouts, it's the better alternative. Gene, if you could back up one additional slide, please. Okay, on number 9 here, we're planning to put some water on the right side of the green. Take a little bit of the water out on the right and remove that little bridge that we walk across in accessing the ninth green. In the cut and fills, when I say cut and fills, there are some lagoons that are going to be expanded a little bit, and other lagoon areas that are going to be filled in. Primarily the filling in of any of the areas is to lessen any force carries. Kind of make, like on the 13th hole where you're hitting over water for your second shot, we're going to lessen that so the players that want to can play around the water. Doing the same thing on the 5th hole. Instead of having to directly play over all of that water, we're going to remove a little bit of it so you can also play your ball around the water. And for the better player, the water will still come in play, but not as significant as it is today. The majority, and a lot of you got a letter from DHEC, and it was probably pretty confusing because there's about 25 pages. If you scroll through it, it had a lot of little cuts and fills, and these 2 drawings right here all those little white tags on there, those are all the identifiers for that letter that some of you received from DHEC. What that's on there, if we put a drain pipe in a lagoon, that's in that letter. There are some cuts and fills that we're doing, but the majority of that is just drain pipes going in a lagoon, a small little area that we're taking filling in some areas to create or lessen the force carry. The big excavations or fills are number one of ocean course. On the left side, about midway up, is this pond that borders the ocean golf course right on the driving range. We're planning to fill the majority of that pond primarily because it just eats golf balls. And from the driving range and players and so forth, so we try to get approval, and that affects nobody except the golf operation and the driving range operation. The other between hole number 6 and hole number 9 of ocean course, which we're going to expand that lagoon there, make it much prettier than it is. But that's kind of how we're working to kind of equalize the areas that we are filling versus the areas that we will excavate, because we've got to equalize ourselves. If we take 2.5 acres of fill, we got to open up 2.5 acres in close proximity to the project. So we are doing that. So if you've got any questions about this, I've received many phone calls about this DHEC letter. It's part of the permitting process. When you're going after a project of this magnitude, you got to get federal permits, state permits, and local permits. This is part of the federal and state permit. The process of construction will be from, granted we're closing in October. We're going to reopen in the following September of 16. But first, when we close in October, we've got to disassemble the golf course. We've got to take the grasses off of it. We've got to take the cart paths out of it. We've just got to remove the greens complex, just kind of turn it back to a buildable state. So it will be, and that will primarily take from October through December to kind of take the golf course apart and getting ready to finalize it in the recontouring and redesign of the golf course. How much disturbance will there be? If you remember on Heron Point, it was noisy and dusty. Those of you, and myself included, that live on Harbor Town, I don't now, but I did about 2 weeks ago. It's been dusty out there, and but the dust is coming to a conclusion today. However, ocean course will be dusty. There will be some disturbance out there. It will be noisy as we remove the old golf course and construct the new course. There will be some dust because until we get irrigation put back in, we can't irrigate the golf course once we remove it. And so if there's dust, there's not much we can do about the dust. But we will do everything we can to make the inconvenience as lessened as we can. But there will be some inconvenience, but I promise you it'll be a wonderful golf course when we're finished. Our owners have want us to create a golf course that you all will be proud of, they're going to be proud of, and it's going to be a wild golf course, and we're certainly going to do and spend the resources to do that. The work schedule will be 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., Monday through Saturday. We try not to work on Sunday, except the goal, you've got to get this golf course redesigned and planted prior to the end of June. And so if Mother Nature doesn't cooperate and we have some bad weather, we may be forced to have to do some things on a Sunday, but we do try to do as much quiet things if we have to on Sunday, so not to disturb anybody. And we ask for permission to do that. But it's critical because we can only grow the golf course in growing season, and growing season is June, July, August, and September. So the entire project backs up off of that. By the end of June, we plan to have the golf course totally reconstructed, all the grasses on the ground, turn it over to the superintendent and let him grow it in so that we can reopen in late September. And so that's the critical schedule that we'll have. And if any part of through this project you have any questions, do call me. I live on the golf courses. I'm always in the resort, and we know that there'll be some inconvenience, but we're going to try to keep that down as best as possible. There's going to be big equipment out there, and that's why I ended up putting the signs I did at Harbor Town that says construction project, no trespassing, because we're getting so many walkers and so many bikers you're cutting trenches, you're doing a lot of things that if you're riding a bike, you could hit a pothole or a trench, and we don't want anybody injured out there, and it is a construction site, and so we just ask you to please be aware of that. And I will apologize right now for any inconvenience, but there will be some, and but it will all be for the good once we get this golf course finished. There have been discussions and rumors about us flipping the nines of Ocean Course, make the front nine the back nine and the back nine the front nine. We're not doing that now. It sounded good because that way the golf carts could finish right at the clubhouse, but 15, 16, 17, and 18 are kind of the signature parts of the golf course. They will remain that way, and even though the front nine is going to be very, very nice, it's the back nine, and the water is what the golf course is about, and that's what we will not change those nines. There has been discussion, about modifying the name of the Ocean Golf Course, and we've got a couple of Ocean Golf Courses in close proximity. One a little more famous than ours, and so our owners have asked us to look at whether it be Ocean Blank Course. And so if you got any ideas, I laid this out to the realtors about a month ago, so I'm getting a lot of their ideas. So if you've got any nifty names, let me know them as well. I will be around at the conclusion, kind of walk you through of how the golf course will look outside your window, and so be glad to take you through that. I do want you to know that that with all these new facilities that the Riverstone has been providing to the community, it's a wonderful opportunity for all of us. It's a wonderful opportunity for the entire property owners throughout the community that we have these amenities, that the Riverstone is putting the investment like this into it, and it's really, we need your support. We need you to be using our golf courses and eating in our restaurants and using all the amenities and at the beach club and everything, because our success is going to be large part based on your enjoyment of these assets. And we want you to be proud of them. We're certainly going to build them to be proud of. And I also want you to know that our Plantation Golf Club was just received the award for the Clubhouse of the Year, which is an international competition, and it's very fortunate that the Plantation Club, and there was some couple in China and a couple others around, and our Plantation Golf Club here in Sea Pines received that award. So now we're in the process of resubmitting for our new Harbortown Clubhouse. So don't know if we'll get the same award 2 years in a row, but we'll certainly try. That's all I have, and I do want to mention that, as Brett had mentioned about drainage and stormwater management, we will drain this golf course. We will do whatever dredging and filling that we need to achieve success on this golf course. We can drain this golf course without the town coming forward and saying, oh, we're going to do this, this, and this, even though they need to do that for the community's benefit. But this golf course can be successful with or without that being done. It's certainly some of these accessible points to have access for the town to do some of this stormwater work is only accessible when the golf course gets closed. So that's why Brett and all of us are kind of working together with the town to kind of identify these areas and try to get their participation and approval. But this golf course can move forward with or without those decisions. We just certainly hope that we can get their decision to move forward. So I will hold questions to the end. And Jeannie, do pull up the scorecard. I did want to say we're going to have a lot of different choices of tees, 6 sets of tees, and the golf course is going to range from 3,800 yards, which is kind of like the super senior or family tee that we call that we did on Heron Point, as well as there'll be some tees that will kind of generate a scorecard that has this course yardage over 7,000 yards. We're not asking anybody to play some of those tees. It's very similar to what we did on Heron Point. We have tees kind of buried in the woods or cross another par 3, and it looks great on the scorecard. It certainly is playable if we were having a major or a big amateur event or another type of professional event of some magnitude. But there will be some tees like that, but we're not promoting that. So, thank you all.
Well, I started off and went immediately out of order with Carrie going before Michael. I'd like to apologize for that. One suggestion I heard, Carrie, is if you could make the golf course much more player friendly. If you could build big funnels over the tops of the greens to catch the errant golf balls, that would work out well. Pull it right down into the center would be good. Okay. Anyway, without further ado, Michael, if you'd like to come up.
Good morning, everyone. I forget what main thing I want to talk about. There's a couple things. Number one, from the ASPO perspective, the Land Use Monitor reports what we have done at the last board meeting in June. We updated the protocols for blighted properties on what David Risk can do with the Land Use Monitor program. Since we've been looking at this, some of the properties that have not been very successful or have been very cooperative with us have changed their tone, and we're seeing some movement in the proper direction. As most of you realize, the CSA is not allowed to fine you as a property owner. The covenants do not allow us to levy fines. However, what we will be doing with the change in our protocol is that 2 certified letters will go to the property owner. If we do not have any compliance after the 2nd certified letter, the officers of the ASPO board will look at that property collectively, and if we still believe that it is out of line and not keeping up to the neighborhood standards that we expect for sea pines, a letter will come from the board directly to the property owner notifying them that this issue has been turned over to our legal counsel for legal action against the property owner. We've put a little bit more teeth into what the ASPO board could do in the past. We just do not have with the covenants the ability to fine you if you're not taking. It is our assumption that every one of you in this room is keeping your property up to date, and you need not worry. It's some of those neighbors that you might have that is a problem. Second of all is the fact that we are getting very close to the elections for the CSA and ASPO boards. Those ballots will go out in November, the first part of November. Let you know that we have David Borghese, who is running a 2nd term. We have Paul Crunkleton running a 2nd term. We have a gentleman named Dennis Miller who has applied, and we have a gentleman named Bill Johnson who has applied. I encourage you, if you are thinking, if you are contemplating, if you have any interest at all, this is a great time to be a part of either ASPO, CSA, or both boards. Many of our past histories of legal issues are behind us. It is now time to take this plantation to another level. Being on the board gives you the opportunity to be a part of that process. To help anyone get a better handle on this, we are going to host at the CSA office, it's already up there, July 15th at 9 o'clock. We will be there to answer any questions, to give you an overview of how CSA operates as a board, how ASPO operates as a board, how you, if you run on both boards, have to put a hat on one day that tells me I'm a property owner and I'm thinking only about the property owners as an ASPO board member, and then at the next meeting you go to, if you're on both boards, you put your hat on that says I'm an ASPO board member, but I also have to look at the big community as well. So that's the fun part of being on both boards. What else was I supposed to talk about, Jeannie? I think that was it. July 15th, 9 o'clock at the CSA office. Think about running. We're all available. Mark is here. I'm stepping in for Charlie, who's out of town from the ASPO perspective, but we're more than happy to answer any questions for you. The third thing I want to address, and Jennifer is going to be putting something on the website shortly, we do not have recognition of sea pines. We have, as been seen on the slides up here, we have an iconic lighthouse that is the image of Sea Pines Resort, but not Sea Pines the community. Sue Emke has been a very strong advocate on the fact that we need a flag for Sea Pines community. We need our identity for us as a community port. That has been folded over to a marketing task force that we're working on right now to make Sea Pines a more formidable destination of choice. So we will be announcing that if you are creative, if you have some ideas, please forward that. Jennifer will be notifying everybody by email, but we are interested in your ideas. We want to create a logo for this community. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I know everybody's excited because Toby gets to come up and talk about these fun 2 weeks we have before and after 4th of July.
Thank you, Brett. Kerry, we're just going to see how user-friendly this new golf course is going to be. I don't know if it's ready for my game because the last meeting I was here, property owner brought me a golf ball. She goes, I think you lost this. For my birthday, I got golf balls from my kids that has my name on it. I said, where'd you find it at? She goes, it was in our swimming pool. So let's make sure that those funnels are much wider than what we need. A quick update, and this is not really an update that I really wanted to give today, but we have burglaries that are back in the community. They started the middle of May. I want to mention some locations that we're having these in. These were not forcible entries. These were residents that left their property unlocked, and quite a few items have been stolen. Spotted Sandpiper, Lighthouse Villas, Lawton Villas, Fairway 1, Beach Lagoon Road, Seaside Sparrow, Woodbine Place, Fairway Lane, and West Beach Lagoon. So as you can tell, they're kind of all over Sea Pines. We are working with the sheriff. There's actually investigators on property today. We have leads. They're trying to run these individuals down. Please pass the word. This is not the community, not here, anywhere in Beaufort County is a place where you can go off and leave your property unlocked. A gentleman that we're trying to locate, can you turn that recording off for a minute? He has done this before. Just recently got out of jail. And this is his MO of going into unlocked houses. Watch your house, watch you leave, go pull on door handles. So please, you got to lock your property up. If they're going to get in, make them go to the extent that it takes to get in, breaking the windows or doing something that may draw the attention. If you see someone moving, whether it's your neighbor, if you know your neighbor is relocating, any furniture being moved throughout the plantation, please give us a call. We want to go. A couple of these houses, one house had 4 70-inch TVs taken. Someone didn't put these underneath their arm and walk out the door. I mean, it took some effort to get this property out of this house. And actually one of them was a resort rental property. Literally the people checked out at 10, at noon the stuff was gone. So please keep your properties locked up. Let's talk about the 4th of July. The festivities for the resort's going to start at 8:30 in the morning. There's going to be a parade. I believe it starts around Harbor Town. It does. So if you want to bring the family out, it's a parade. I think it's a walking parade. Maybe, I'm not exactly sure because I've not seen the parade.
Walking bicycles, primarily decorating bicycles and having your kids and grandkids enjoy the little parade around the lighthouse.
So come out to that. The fireworks will start at 9 o'clock. This is a great time, especially for families. We've had some issues in the past. Alcohol consumption is always an issue, it seemed like, at all of our events, but we have that. We ask that you please come out, but please do not let the kids bring the 18th fairway. You literally could walk from blankets from the tee to the green and never touch the grass because that's how many people are out there. But the 18th fairway is not a place for sparklers or kids' fireworks. There's too much congestion. And the last 3 years, every year we've had a kid has burnt another individual with the sparkler because there's just so many people out there. So that's not the area that we want to have any fireworks in. You come to see the fireworks. The luminaries, I don't know, every year somebody shows up before us and sells these things, and someone lights them off. If you've been out in the last couple of years, it's where they put a fire, and it's almost like this big kite that goes in the sky, and it passes. The last thing we need is it land on one of the yachts in the yacht basin. But please, no fireworks on the 18th. Parking. We will man the intersections leading into Harbor Town. Once the parking is full at Harbor Town, which will probably be at 4 o'clock on the 4th of July, we're going to try to turn people away. If you have reservations to any of the activities in and around Harbor Town, we will let you through, but The last thing we need is when the parking lot fills up for people to go down and they ride around the circle looking for someone to leave, and all that does is cause a big problem. I suggest that you ride your bike or walk to the fireworks. The trolleys will be running. We have added an additional stop for those of you that live South Sea Pines and around Tower Beach. A property owner can drive to Tower Beach, park at Tower Beach, and we're going to pull the trolley in right there behind the guardhouse, and we'll take you down to the fireworks and bring you back. The trolleys will run probably well past midnight to get everyone moved. I think the resort has 13 large 55-passenger buses that are going to be busing people from the power lines. So if you didn't want to go to the Tower Beach, you can go to the power lines, jump on one of the 55-passenger buses. They'll drop you off right at Harbor Town. We're expecting a big crowd, especially if the weather is going to be nice. You can imagine, literally, the buses start running at 4 o'clock, and we fill these buses up and transport all these people down. And when fireworks is over, not everybody gets to leave at the same time. It takes a while. To be quite honest with you, it takes 3.5 hours to get everybody back to the parking lots, because that's what it took the last 2 years. So those are available. There is no fireworks. We run these calls every year. Our border in the county is surrounded by fireworks stands. There is no signage in the county that says you can't discharge fireworks. We have it every year. It will start here very soon. We will respond to those calls if we need to. Tower Beach. If you've seen this holiday schedule, we have 2 remaining for the rest of the year, which is Saturday and Sunday at Tower Beach. There is no private rentals of the pavilion on these days, and in order to park in the parking lot at Tower Beach, you must have a resident decal, or if you're in the relative vehicle, the property owner must be in the car with the ID card. Everybody understand that? We're trying to limit it to the property owners for those particular days, which is July 4th and 5th, and then the remaining following day would be September 7th, that we would have this parking restriction at Tower Beach. Okay, I think that's all I have, Brett. Thank you. And the gate arms at Tower Beach go down August 17th.
Thank you, Toby. Now we have Jennifer talk a little bit about the Legacy Oaks program as well as some other communications objectives.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you all are as excited about the weekend as I am. I'm actually leaving tomorrow to go to the mountains in North Carolina to cool off for a little bit. So it's a happy day for me. Anyway, we've got some fun things going on, mostly down at Harbor Town. The parade, as Brett mentioned, and they are handing out free decorations, which I think is great. So if, like Carrie said, if you have the grandkids in town and you want to take them down, they'll give you some great decorations to decorate your bikes and your wagons and your strollers and all that, and you can take everybody out and parade around Harbor Town. That'll be a lot of fun. Salute from the Shore. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this program. We do have a flyer on our website about it, and there was also a link in the community email that went out on Tuesday afternoon about this program. But anyway, they have vintage World War II airplanes that fly over in F-16s, and they come down along the coast. So they start in North Carolina and they fly all the way down the coast, and they actually end at Tufusky Island. So we get to see them here, and their anticipated time of arriving here for their air show is around 1:15, 1:30. So they recommend, if you want to see that, to come out between 1:15 and 1:30 on the 4th of July and watch that. And it's really just to honor and celebrate our troops, and it's a great program. Their website is there, salutefromtheshore.org, if you want to go there and get more information about that. Also, Greg Russell will be performing right before the fireworks, so that's a great way to kick off your evening. And on July 8th at Lawton Stables, they have sort of an outdoor theater where they will be showing a movie, and I don't know what that movie is, but it starts at 7 o'clock, and you bring your blankets and your lawn chairs and sit out and watch a show in the evening, and it's supposed to be a really beautiful event. So those are pretty much the things that we have going on in July. As always, Sea Pines Living is our website where you can get more information about the meeting schedules for the board meetings and the community meetings. And we also have a community events calendar there where you can find out what's going on in the community. So that's a great reference for you. I did want to speak briefly also about our Legacy Oaks program. I think John is here John Parsons was very instrumental in helping us put together this wonderful program. And the goal of the program is really to identify some specimen oaks inside of sea pines. And specimen oaks are identified by the town of Hilton Head as trees that have a 36-inch diameter trunk, I believe. Is that correct, John? And so all of the ones that we've identified, I mean, we have hundreds, if not thousands, of trees that actually qualify inside sea pines. But we tried to find the ones that were the most beautiful and had the most interesting structure in terms of the branches and that were in the best health and the best condition, but the ones that were also accessible so that we could all go out and visit them. And so the ones that we've chosen are 15 trees, and that does include a grove of trees that are in Six Oaks Cemetery. And you can access all of those via our leisure trails. And so it is a walking or biking tour that you can take. And we brought some brochures with us today, which are over here on the table. Feel free to take one with you. And it does have a map that details out not only the location of each of these trees in the program, but it gives you a little historical, which I think is really interesting. And obviously one of the most known is the Liberty Oak in Harbor Town. That tree is in our program. Charles Frazier is buried there. And there's just a lot of history to these trees. I think one of our trees in the program, the one at Six Oaks, is almost 400 years old, 360 years old. So we've got some really old, beautiful trees here, and the goal of the program is to preserve those for everyone to enjoy moving into the future. And so we hope that you will pick up a copy of this, and maybe this weekend while you're out and about, take a nice leisurely tour to see these trees and tell your friends about it as well. And there's more of these at the CSA office. If you don't get one today, feel free to stop by. There's also some at our David, some of the different brochure locations where we also have the biking maps, like at the entrance to the Forest Preserve. You will also find these maps for the Legacy Oaks tour there as well. So if you're out biking around, you want to pick one up there, that's a good spot to stop and get one. And that's it. As usual, I just wanted to remind everybody that seapinesliving.com, when you log in there, you'll be able to get all the information. Whatever the latest and greatest is will be on our members area page. And I also wanted to tell everyone that our property owner survey is coming along. You will be getting an invitation to take that survey sometime here in the next probably 6 to 7 weeks. You will also get a couple of early notifications, a phone call, a postcard in the mail, an email letting you know that that survey is coming. You will have 3 weeks to complete it from the time that you receive it. And it's going to really be an important communication tool for CSA in giving us the feedback we need to tell us what you all are interested in, what your interests are, what your concerns are, how you use the property, how you use the amenities, what areas you'd like to see improvements in, those types of things. So we hope that you will all participate in that survey, and the invitation will come by email. So if for some reason you're not getting our email communications, call the CSA office and make sure that we have your email on file so that we can stay in touch with you and send you an invitation to the survey. And that's it for today. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Jennifer. All right. Questions, open to questions and anything that we can do. Yes, sir. If you could come up to the microphone so we can get it recorded. I'm sorry. How about this?
Got my boot off of my...
There you go.
I have a question. I've been here 27 years now, and I would like to ask, how long is it going to take to get a circle possibly at Sea Pines and Greenwood? We have measured it. I have waited from 4 to 8 minutes to get out of Plantation Drive. People cannot turn right onto Greenwood, and it's just getting worse as time goes on.
The intersection is Plantation and Greenwood?
Plantation Drive and Greenwood.
Okay.
And Hearthwood.
Okay. You know,
we've measured that, and it could put a circle in there.
Okay. I have not seen any plans for that, sir, at this point, but it's certainly something that we are going to be looking at throughout our traffic. and some of the issues we may have, and have someone take a look at each of those. We are doing a survey right now of, well, not right now, but has been approved, and it will be completed sometime this summer for that entire corridor that goes from the gate all the way to Plantation. Currently, we do not have a survey of that land that is consistent, so we need to do that first and then look at whatever traffic options we might have in conjunction with an overall infrastructure plan. You're welcome. Other questions?
Thank you. My name is Mary Lou Bolger. I live at 8 Evergreen Lane. I was here last month and asked for zero tolerance of speeding within the plantation, and I was informed that there was no ability to do this because we weren't radar certified. Since then, I've gotten an email from the Club Course Property Owners Association saying that speeding would be enforced, and so I don't know if this has occurred. And I also noticed on our way to Harbortown one day that there was a flashing sea pine sign that detected the radar, the speed of your car, because it's a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit in Harbortown, which is certainly adequate for the amount of walkers and bikers in that area. But that sign also should be used in other parts. I have to run a gauntlet every day. I leave my house at Evergreen from Club Course, making the left-hand turn through the gate. There's a blind turn there that people cut because there's no divider between the lanes as on Tupelo, so that people make the full turn as opposed to cutting in front of my lane. No one goes 25 because I go 25 and the cars whiz past me and there's nowhere to go. You got to wait in line up there to go around the circle. You know, I can't even get over to go right to go to New Orleans, which is how I go. And the speed has to be enforced. What I want to know, what has been done? Have we become certified? And if not, I thought, well, we pay taxes to Beaufort County, and if they're getting the money, perhaps we request a sheriff's officer to enforce the laws. Are we choosing to not enforce them, or do we want to enforce the laws? Zero tolerance for speeding. This is a community that is full of bikers and walkers, and we need to enforce the speed limit so no one is hurt or killed.
Toby, can you give us an update?
Thank you. March of last year, we received notification from SLED that they were changing the rules of and certification for private security officers to operate a radar. We literally waited almost 8 months, and till this day, and we're a year past the time, I've never received notification from SLED of what the new program would be. The Attorney General of South Carolina suggested that the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division should train private security in the use of a radar. SLED has not trained anyone in anything since 1989. That's a true fact. No classes, nothing. They are the keeper of the private security in South Carolina. We are in the process of becoming certified. I've sent letters asking would SLED recognize the certification of the IPTM Training Center in Florida. Until this day, I've still yet to receive a letter stating that they would. That's where we're going to get certified. The plan is the 1st of August, we're sending officers to be certified. Actually, we're sending officers to become instructors so that we can train the remaining part of the staff in the radar operation. So writing a state ticket right now, we have not written a state ticket since March of last year because of the restriction that was came down from SLED. Private security is struggling in South Carolina. There is a huge gap for training of private security in South Carolina, and I mentioned this before. It takes more training to cut someone's hair than it does to carry a gun and badge in South Carolina. So we're working towards that. The radar signs that you see, we can move that around. We have had difficulty moving that big trailer into Club Course because it's kind of large, and we literally have to put it in someone's front yard. So I'll work out. We do have a solution to that, and you're getting ready to see them go up in the next couple of weeks. If you go out in the town of Hilton Head, it looks like about the size of a speed limit sign that captures your speed. we're having these custom posts made in our maintenance, and you're going to see these signs go up throughout the community that dictates what the speed of the car is and what the speed limit is. We realize that we've got an issue with speeding. Right now, it's a warning ticket.
I'm not concerned about, of course, but it's that gate. Perhaps there could be, as you exit the gate, to slow people down. And I will touch on the sheriff issue. The sheriff will not send deputies into a private community to run radar. Because if he did it in our community, then every other community would want it as well, and they're stretched thin at the sheriff's office right now. Outside from our gate to Seapine Circle is a difficult area to run radar because there's nowhere for the cars to turn around, and there's no shoulder to actually pull someone off to the side of the road. You're literally in the road. So we're working. Actually, as of this Monday, I had a conversation with the sheriff about maybe bringing a couple of deputies in because we own the roadway. Greenwood Drive to the Circle is owned by CSA. The sheriff has jurisdiction to operate traffic in Seapines. So we're trying to work out a plan where we can bring some deputies out 30 minutes to an hour and write some tickets. Hopefully that would get some attention. But we have got to become trained in-house, and I am working towards that because I literally lost a year thinking that SLED was going to come back with a program, and we never have. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Last year, I remember a discussion about bicycle paths and safety. Summer comes around, you're really afraid to walk on the bike paths. Is anything being done about that?
Well, we've done a few things, and Toby rode all the bike paths and gave a list to maintenance who has gone out and cleared out just from a visual perspective so you can see better. And then, of course, we've been going through and doing maintenance on them, but we have not implemented anything to expand. But Toby, you want to talk about? Correct. Right.
Yeah. Well, as you can tell from my waistline, I haven't ridden in a while. We got a couple things that we're doing. Right now, obviously, our bike paths are completely jammed. There is no plan that we currently have that would widen the bike paths. We have a program that we're working on. We've identified probably a good 10 to 15 areas that we're going to address over the next year. One of them is the bicycle crossings. If you go out into the town of Hilton Head, Wexford Center really is a good example where they have stamped the pavement. The board, CSA board, has approved in our upcoming projects. When we have paving projects, we're going to have this stamped crossing across the roadway. So as you're driving through the plantation, it's going to be visual. You're going to notice the break in the road because right now, many of the crossings on Greenwood Drive, especially if being here, you know that they're here, but for someone that is visiting, they have no idea that there's actually a crossing in the roadway. So all these locations, we've identified 23 locations that we're going to stamp the pavement. And that's going to be a process that we're going to figure in every year because it's crossing the road right out here in front of Seapine Center is a prime example of a shaded area that you cannot see people crossing the road. So we do have the plan to do that. The widening of the paths probably is not anything on the foreseeable future. We are clearing the brush and the shrubbery around to create a better line of sight. We've done a very good job with that. There is some ideas of maybe putting some mirrors up and some real serious blind spots, but we don't have that many that where you really can't see 15 or 20 feet up around the curve. This is not a training zone for the Tour de France by no stretch. This is not the location to do that in, and we caution people about that this is not the time, especially right now with the number of people that we have, because everybody is on a bicycle. So we're working towards that. Is an agenda that we have, and there's really a list. New signage that's going in, pavement markings on the bicycle paths, new kiosks because all the kiosks need to be replaced. We're working on those. The new trolley stops are going in. Those kiosks are going to match similar to that. So there is some projects that we have, and the funding's been set aside for that. Yes, sir.
I'm concerned about bicyclists who come up on pedestrians without warning. They don't slow down. I'm surprised there aren't more accidents than there are. Can we do something to remind bicyclists about etiquette protocols?
In all of the rental packets that we issue out, we have a brochure that has all the bicycle rules as far as, and the leisure path rules in it, that we give to every rental company that represents properties inside the plantation. I think what we have every Saturday, we've got a brand new group of people, and we're constantly in a training mechanism to you can't ride in the roadway, you can't feed our wildlife. I mean, it's literally every Saturday we're retraining a new group of people. A lot of people do not read the information that are out there. We are working on a new handout at the gate, and I'm going to steal this idea from Palmetto Dunes, but when a rental company brings bicycles into Palmetto Dunes hangs a tag on that tells the rider that you must ride on our leisure paths, you cannot ride in the roadway, and please wear your helmet. I talked to Frank last week. I rode from my office to South Beach. I must have passed 500 people. Not one person had a bicycle helmet on. Not one. And they're with parents. So, I mean, that's something that good grief, I grew up, I never wore a helmet as a kid either, but this day and age with everything that we have and that's publicized, that some people would do that, not one. So it is a training. We're trying to figure out a better way to get the word out. We're doing everything that we can. Yes, ma'am. I misspoke. I know. You're correct. It is a leisure path. You would like to think so, yes. It's a huge our leisure paths are a challenge this time of the year with the number of people that we have. And I'll mention it again. Last year, 41,000 bicycles came in from outside rental companies to be delivered in Sea Pines. We will exceed that this year. I think there's one bicycle company that I'm aware of that still puts the bells on the bikes. There's 23 companies that deliver bicycles into the plantation.
Carl?
I guess their parents never taught them how to behave properly, huh? Isn't that where the defect is? I have several questions and comments for Michael Tucker. So, Michael, why don't you come on up so we can... Now, in this recent thing which was sent around, I don't know exactly what you call it, but it's like the monthly or quarterly glossy thing. And as Ms. Loesch said, there's going to be some surveys which are going to be coming up in, whether it's August or September, I'm not sure. And there are two things that they're going to survey. One is demographic issues. I guess age, how many people, income, interests in that area. And the other thing that's going to be surveyed, the secondary goal of this year's survey, is to receive owner feedback on the proposed long-term strategic plan. How many people here know what the long-term strategic plan is? You sure about that? Okay. How many don't? Well, let's just say this. If you read the long-term strategic plan as it's on the website, it's full of non-specifics. It's what one of my English professors would have called glittering generalities. It really doesn't tell you anything about what's going to be done. And in particular, in addition to that, there are some grievous errors. For instance, it states in these documents that you've distributed that CSA is the governing body of Sea Pines. As far as I understand from reading the covenants, that's categorically wrong. In fact, it's not really clear what the governing body is. And that's probably something that should be settled as the covenants are being revised. The other thing it said was that CSA is responsible for the maintenance and enforcement of the covenants. That's absolutely categorically wrong. It's quite the opposite. ASPO has the sole responsibility for this. And a lot of what you've written, Michael, and I know you're accumulating answers, has to do with interpretation of sentiments versus, I see Carl Becker there. Carl, am I right or wrong about that? Wrong? ASPO is not the sole?
ASPO is named in the 1974 covenants to enforce these covenants.
Yes.
It's not named in the 70s, it's not named in any other covenants. The company, in the other covenants, has the right, among, and the company owners have the right to enforce. The rights of the company were assigned to CSA in 1988 out of bankruptcy. So CSA is entitled to enforce all of the covenants with the company. It's the old Sea Pines company is entitled to enforce. ASPO clearly is entitled to enforce the 74 covenants. Perhaps as a representative of the property owners is entitled to enforce other covenants. But CSA is entitled to enforce all of them. So yes, we are.
Well, that's a good legal answer, and I've had several bright lawyers, I'm no lawyer, tell me that they believe differently. The final question I have for you, Michael, has to do with something you mentioned several meetings ago about some committees that you formed, 3 committees in particular, which had to do with fostering commercial activity in Sea Pines. And I'm not aware, and perhaps Carl can correct this, that CSA is endowed with the right, obligation, or mission to deal with commercial activity from the standpoint of encouraging it. The good old American entrepreneurial spirit is that the people in the business do this, but CSA, as I see, has no role in that. And in particular, you talked about a committee which had to do, if I rephrase it properly, with enhancing the situation for day trippers, that we are more accommodating to day trippers and thereby stimulate day trippers. Now, if the residents were in the business of selling ice cream cones or hot dogs, I could see where they would be interested in this. But I really wonder whether the residents are interested in having more cars and more day trippers brought into Sea Pines. And just as a show of hands, how many of you are interested in having more day trippers come into Sea Pines? Well, that's very surprising to me. How many are not? Well, I would say that probably the 4 are the majority among these. But I really wonder whether that would be true of the entire community. So I wonder if you would address the issue of this governance and of the day trippers.
I will address, I think Carl answered the governance issue very well. There is a lot of interpretation for the covenants. I've been involved with the board now for a year and a half, and when I was elected, along with Mark and the others, one of the things we looked at was the covenants are very confusing, and there are multiple covenants to be abiding by. Is it worth addressing the covenants and starting from scratch? Is it worth taking them apart piece by piece and creating a set of covenants that would be more aware of today's world? But the covenants were written by Mr. Frazier years and years ago for the protection of the plantation as a whole. The cost and the time to go back through and rewrite those covenants, multiple legal opinions have been given to the CSA board It simply is not worth the effort. We have to interpret them as best we can with what we have. As it relates to the day visitors as opposed to trippers, if I can use that expression, we have a lot of maintenance issues in this plantation, which is 50 years old, that need to be addressed. Some of those perhaps should have been addressed some years ago, but were not, for whatever reason. If we do not address them now, the cost to replace them 3 years from now will be substantially greater. What the CSA board is attempting to do is prioritize our infrastructure so that we have a plantation that will be able to handle renters, future property owners, day visitors for years and years to come. That costs money. Day visitors is one of the sources of our income that significantly impacts a $10.5 million budget. If we were to come to you and ask you to vote for us to raise your CSA assessment by $300 or $400 or $500 a year, the show of hands that would support that would be not surprising. I do believe, however, and I think I speak, Mark is sitting right here, he can address this with me. I do believe that the majority of property owners would be in favor of some change of the assessment process so that we not only can fix the infrastructure that needs to be done, but we can take a 50-year-old community and make it more competitive for the next future homeowner looking for a place to reside. The long-range strategic plan, which I personally presented twice to this forum right here, it's been on our website. There were 4 issues in that long-range plan. One of them was to perpetuate Sea Pines community as a world-class destination. It was a world-class destination in the 60s and in the 70s. It's modified its position due to competitive activity beyond Hilton Head, and we want to regain that position. The resort is doing a tremendous job with what they've added. We all know the amenities they've provided. I have seen people who were against the beach club enjoy a nice dinner at the beach club. I guess from a personal perspective for me, this is where we all chose. I said this when I ran for the election. I don't want to make it about me, but I said this when I ran for election. I don't understand who got transferred to Sea Pines. Every one of us are here by choice. We chose Sea Pines over Daytona Beach, over Miami Beach, over Scottsdale for reasons. And those reasons are still impacting the future homeowners today. I think we have an obligation to make this plantation the best plantation it can possibly be, given the restraints that we have of those covenants that we live by every single day. There isn't a CSA board meeting where the covenants issue isn't challenged. We need to have more income for us to be competitive and for us to rebuild the infrastructure of this plantation. One of the major ways we obtain that is through a $6 gate fee at our gate. If we have the proper infrastructure, we will encourage more and more people to come in here, because that will require less of us putting pressure on you and me as a property owner to pay for the things that we have to do going forward. Sea Pines was at one time the place. And I can assure you that the CSA board and the ASPO board want that recognition once again. And what we're trying to do, Carl, is do it in such a way that minimizes the actual impact of us coming to you, asking you to change the covenants, changing the CPI, and assessing you $200, $300, $400, $500 more. For those of you who are not aware, if you compare what it costs you as an assessment to live in this plantation with all the amenities we have, and you compare it to other plantations on this island, I believe we are the second lowest of all. We are very close to the bottom in terms of the cost to live here. Do I believe that we could come to the community down the road if the survey that you talked about says we think we need a community center? We think we need enhancements in the forest preserve to make this the kind of property we want it to be. I'm a firm believer, and I certainly would support this from a board member of both organizations, that we come to the property owners and say, we want to charge you an assessment increase above the CPI for years 2017, 2018, 2019. And that increase of $200-300 a year, 100% of that money is going to go to X and 100% is going to go to Y to build this plantation back to where it should be. That's a personal opinion, addressing your issues, Carl. We need daily visitors in here to help us build this. Daily visitors become future renters become future property owners. And we need property owners to want to live here, because supply and demand means our property values go up when people want to choose this plantation. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Any other questions? With that, Carrie wanted to make one mention, please. Do you have a question?
I also wanted to mention, I'm sorry, I forgot to tell everybody this, that the legacy oaks are marked by benches or swings for the most part. A couple of them, like the Fraser Circle oak that we have here, the bench is actually across from the circle because we don't want people to have to cross over to see the tree. But when you are taking the tour, look for the benches and the swings. There's only a couple of locations. The Liberty Oak does not have one, and the Plantation Oak does not have one because of where they are. But all the rest of them, there's a nice swing or a bench there where you can sit and rest and look at the trees. So kind of look for that marker, and the bench has the name of the tree, and I believe it's germination date on it as well. So just wanted to mention that. Harry?
As you depart, I just wanted to tell you that we have an individual that bought a home in Sea Pines about 4 or 5 years ago, Jeff Maggard. And he lives here in the resort. He won earlier this year the Senior PGA Championship, and he just last week won the U.S. Senior Open. So he's here on the island right now. His family is. They enjoy the resort. And they come as much as they can and around his playing schedule, and his family and kids are part of the community. So you will see them as they walk around. But he's a wonderful. It's a wonderful family, and he's a great individual. So as you see him, he's certainly gained some great recognition here of late.
Thank you, everybody. Happy 4th.